जब आप अच्छा करते हैं कई लोगों को खटकता है हिंदुस्तान जैसे
Chairman at that time called me up directly saying that please sell out, otherwise I just didn't do it for this from the ego point of view. I went in detail and I said, how do we take them on? We have to come what may, we have to protect this.
entrepreneur बहुत डरते हैं.
The biggest hindrance to innovation in an organization is that fear of failure, MB especially. They don't want to experiment because they don't want anything negative on their biodata in the first 2-3 years.
Wow.
Every person has failures in life. Every person in this world will have failures and setbacks. They say passion is important, but passion has to be combined with perseverance and determination, because you will have setbacks. Many people will just give up. If you have determination, perseverance, you will learn from that and you go on trying to improve.
What do you see in terms of difference the consumers that you were dealing with earlier और आज के जो consumers हैं, the millennials जो हैं?
Oh, it's quite different. Earlier it was family. The housewife and the family would buy the brand. Everybody would be using. Now it's individual. Now the consumer is saying, does the brand have a purpose?
So between winning and purpose, where do you see as...
Actually, research has shown purposeful companies beat good to great companies by a huge margin on S&P index. The government banned the exports of coconut oil in India, and we have a big business of exporting branded coconut oil. From 80 crores to now 10,000 crores. Looking back, it has been the most important decision in my life. If I had not got this done properly, I would not have been anywhere near what I am today.
So there's a great support structure, but back in the day when your family started in 1860,
yeah.
I mean there was no support structure, there was no
but those days it was license Raj,
Yeah.
So if you had to succeed in business, the quickest road to success is to get a license. But luckily in our sector, and the sector which Marico is in, is one of the most deregulated sectors. So people get surprised when I tell them that I hardly went to Delhi in my whole journey. To any government office or to a minister to meet minister. I don't know any minister, I don't know any bureaucrat. And when I was put into that role of FICCI, and for me everything was new.
Yeah.
And the life in Delhi, especially old Delhi, is very much centric around what's happening in the government,
Correct.
So in a way, actually, the fact that I didn't have to go, it suited me, because I'm not cut out for all this.
All the bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy and managing all that and entertaining, and those days maybe there was corruption also. Correct. So I am not at all cut out for that. So in a way, I was very lucky that I have not had to go to the government. Once or twice when I've had to go was because of the government, when the coconut oil prices many years back, they went up. And the government banned the exports of coconut oil, and we have a big business of exporting branded coconut oil to other countries. And all of a sudden the ban came in, and I had to go to meet the Commerce Secretary and tell him that this is something we built years and years, and all of a sudden you're not allowing us to export. So, then ultimately they relaxed the condition for branded, yes, because it was in a brand, not loose. So only to nullify a negative, I have had to go to the government, not to get any positives.
And it's surprising you're saying it was like very little regulation or no regulation in your sector. And I also come from a completely unregulated coaching sector.
Okay.
Formal education has many regulations.
Yes.
So हमारे यहाँ भी कोई regulation नहीं था.
Correct.
In fact, that became very important. When you're looking at investors or in सबसे discussion होता था, this is where at least we have a free range कि जो करना चाहते हैं
then all the energy is going to improving the business
rather than managing किससे बात करें किससे ना
improving competencies, quality of talent, processes, everything goes. And that's why the FMCG sector as such is regarded as high in terms of competencies, and because of that higher kind of compensation also. But now I think consulting and a few other sectors have overtaken us.
So maybe मेरे लिए it was a culmination where हमारा एक acquisition था and everything was there. बहुत सारी support थी, the bankers, the M&A experts. But जब आपका business demerge हुआ from Bombay Oil Industry, that was a unique time जहाँ ना तो कोई legal support, ना M&A support, ना demerger support थी. तो वो, and to be honest, today also when you're breaking away from a larger group, तो बहुत सारे questions stakeholders,
Yes.
family members,
Yes.
staff,
Yes.
they all are concerned कि क्या होगा.
Correct. Yeah.
तो उस समय, how that vision came कि इतना successful 100-year-old plus business, now we decide कि इसको हम demerge करें, अलग लेके जाएं और इसकी journey अलग से बनाएं, which became very successful.
Yeah.
So how did that thought came about, and how did it all happen?
Yeah. So it's as you know, we were earlier part of Bombay Oil Industries, which had multiple businesses.
Right.
And we were in chemicals, we were in spice extracts, we were in edible oils, and I was the one who set up, converted the edible oil business from unbranded to branded.
Okay. पहले बिल्कुल unbranded. It will just be a B2B.
Yeah, mainly B2B, a very small, very minute percentage of brand, Okay. So I set up the distribution networks, created the brands, and at some stage the business got traction. So out of 100 crore turnover of Bombay Oil in the year 1990, when we demerged, the consumer products part was contributing to 80 crores turnover.
Out of 100?
100, yeah.
Okay.
And it was also contributing to more than 100% of profits.
Okay.
But at the same time, I was feeling strangled because it was there was no proper system of allocation of resources in terms of different businesses. So I was never sure whether if I made certain profit, will I get that money to invest in my own business.
Right.
So allocation of resources to what is the role of different family members. So the company had my father, 3 of my uncles. I'm the eldest from the next generation, and I have 5 other cousins.
Yeah. So
3 of them are already joined business. So at one point of time, there were 8 or 9
family members, close family members.
Yeah, and it was very difficult to attract talent. And in FMCG business, I don't need to put up factories. I just need to create brands, distribute the right product. Yeah. For which quality of talent is very important. Right. And then there was dual reporting. There were some restrictions because of the impact on other business in terms of compensation. Our office was also located in the heart of commodity markets in Masjid Bandar. Again, impacted attraction of talent. So I was feeling very suffocated.
Yeah.
I mean, how do I get out of this? Because unless I saw a lot of potential in this, but all these forces were
weighing on you,
weighing on me, and
or your growth.
What to do? So I advocated and I discussed this with my cousins.
Okay. So you started this?
I started this because I said I have to find a way out, and me and 4 of my cousins, 5 of us, we formed some sort of group where we discussed how do we resolve this. And it took almost 1 year for us to come to some sort of a roadmap of merging the company.
Open to the idea? No.
It was not a financial separation. It was a management separation.
It was a management separation. So everything will consolidate.
Yeah, I mean, my stakes were not going up, or I was not getting a higher stake.
Okay.
And there's a myth in some families that because you built a business, you're entitled to a higher share.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way.
It should not.
It should not happen because ultimately my father had 25%.
Yeah.
And I'm the only son. And each branch had 25%. So when Marico was formed, each brand had 25% only. So it was management separation, but there was some resistance. And it took almost 1.5 years for me to resolve this with the elders, because all of a sudden, I mean, they would reduce, their roles will reduce.
Of course,
I would get more prominence, and it was clear that I would be the only person in Marico. And then we decided to form 3 or 4 other subsidiaries where each of my cousins would handle a business. Some of them would be new businesses, some of them were smaller business. Because I had to build the business, I said I have to handle this,
Yeah.
So it took 2-3 years for me to arrive at a consensus. But looking back, it has been the most important decision in my life. If I had not got this done properly, I would not have been anywhere near what I am today.
I agree.
From 80 crores to now 10,000 crores.
10,000 crores.
So, but all of a sudden I had all the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do, including recruiting the best quality talent, putting in money for creating brand acquisitions, allocation of resources, image building. Very, very important for you to grow in the business,
And in fact, this is also, I have learned, from my father, and he's always believed that independence is more valuable than equality. Alag ho jao. Acha karo tumhara, bura karo tumhara. And agar equally divide kar denge, then you're always tied up.
But in this case, what happened was, we are also putting in accountability. Kya hota hai? 7-8 family members hote ek business mein. then you can't say you are accountable for this, or everybody wants more and more responsibility in a joint family, but they don't want accountability. Because everything is like together, So you can't hold one person responsible for a certain good thing that person has done or some mistake that person has made, But in this case, I was the only person, so fully I was accountable. If anything went right or wrong,
it was on you.
I would have to own it,
And did they ever come back to you after, let's say, a decade?
No, but then we used to meet every quarter.
Okay.
And discuss. Each one had a different business in the family, created a family council. So ultimately, I'm responsible for them.
Yes.
And I'm accountable for the performance, and I'm not getting anything extra.
Yeah.
Because I built this business.
Correct.
In terms of an extra share. Of course, I would get remuneration, but remuneration is a very small part of the overall share.
Yeah, you're working towards creating value as equity. Correct. And obviously, you got the business sorted out and you had the freedom.
Yeah.
And in a commodity-led market, how do you build brand? I mean, you need a lot of investment. Or समय अखबार या TV, यही channels होते थे, and they are expensive.
Correct.
They were the only channels, and they had the muscle to tweak the brands and charge higher. आजकल थोड़ा different हो गया. How did that thought come to your mind?
So, I mean, we had those two brands, Parachute and Saffola, but mainly we were selling in bulk. Parachute was sold in 50-liter tins to trade. And our quality was very good. So the trade would actually sell loose Parachute at a higher rate than any other coconut drug.
Oh, they would get a 50-liter and they would make their own product.
Not their own product, but you can say this Parachute, you charge a little bit more,
So but they sell it as Parachute name or their own? Different.
Yeah, some people would, but it stood for good quality.
It stood for good quality.
And I think that's what attracted me. I said, now, if it is so good a quality compared to what is available, then there is a potential market. And then the brand was being sold in some parts of Maharashtra by trade. We had some small packs also, but nobody was paying attention.
Okay.
And the first thing I did was I visited those markets in Vidarbha, Nagpur, Yavatmal, small towns, Varda, Amravati. I took a car and went about, started doing retailing, and that's when I saw that there's immense potential. So that led me to grow distribution. So my first step in creating brand Parachute was distribution. We didn't have any field force, so then we started recruiting field force. We had to go slow because I'm just a commerce graduate. I have not studied any MBA or anything more.
Right.
And nobody has been there from the top to guide me.
Correct.
So I had to find my own answers, and many times I had to work with consultants because you could not attract talent.
Yeah.
I had to learn. We appointed advertising agency. I told them I want to spend 1 week with you in understanding how ads are created. Went to the market. Many small towns, we didn't have any distributor. There were no other hotels also in those days. I'm talking of 40 years back or 50 years back maybe. It's early.
Very limited. Few brands, and otherwise there's a big gap.
Yeah, and then so we used to stay. Many times I stayed at the distributor, appointed them, stayed at their house and things like that. So actually did market work in terms of visiting the retailer.
You yourself would go.
By then I appointed somebody. I hired also, of course, but we would go appoint a distributor, go retailing. So it's more a bottom-up kind of induction I've had in the business,
right?
While building the business,
and that's why you understand.
Yeah, I understand the distribution, advertising, and then slowly started expanding. But in a family business, adding people is perceived as a big cost. So that mindset was that people are costs and not resources.
Oh, that was the mindset. That was the mindset.
So I had to. I mean, there is always a risk. You are recruiting so many people, and if the business doesn't get built up, then our losses. It will lead to losses. So I have to take one state, show that it's worth recruiting 5 reps there in that state, show the payback, and then go to the next state. So it took almost 5 years for me to. And I also was not absolutely sure because nobody had guided me, and I had to build it up slowly, hasten cautiously.
ये जो आपने बात बोली, I think this is the glass ceiling. जहाँ बहुत सारे entrepreneurs, who are in that 20 to 50 crore range.
Yes,
they're stuck because वो बाहर से लोग लाना नहीं चाहते, या they're not able to convince the family कि हमारी जगह कोई और काम करेगा और हम यहाँ से उसको मैनेज करेंगे.
You are absolutely right.
और वो बढ़ ही नहीं पाते आगे, वो यहीं रह
I
जाते.
mentor every month. I mentor at least 10 to 15 entrepreneurs in that range of 10, 20 crore turnover to 100 crore turnover.
Yes.
And they are so much in love with their business. They are founders, which is fine.
Yeah.
You have to be in love with your business. There's nothing wrong. But that doesn't mean that you know it all. You
can't trust anybody else with the same.
Correct. And then beyond a point, you cannot grow if you want to do everything on your own. You lack of time. So I always say that when you're small, you are doing things on your own, which is fine. But the moment you grow small to medium, you have to get things done from others, which is very different. You have to recruit the right talent. You have to delegate. You have to create the systems for interdependence, cross-functional systems. You have to know your role completely changes. And they are not able to do that. They still want daily interference. Then you have to have a clarity. You will not get good talent if you don't give them freedom.
Is it an ego massage that they want?
No, it is.
मेरे पास आना है, मेरे को ही
थोड़ा ego होगा, थोड़ा lack of trust होगा.
Lack of trust. कि वो गलत कर देंगे,
हाँ, तो मैं करेगा. तो but you can, I think you can keep the pulse on the business.
Right. There are ways to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do it. Otherwise, you can't expand.
हम उन पे पूरा नहीं छोड़ सकते.
Yeah, so you keep the pulse. I mean, you get involved in key issues which are going to impact the business.
Right.
And you make it clear that these issues are, but as you gain confidence with that person, you have to go on empowering that person. Sometimes there will be mistakes, and I don't think any person can judge any manager based on an interview. There are limitations. Yeah. But it's okay if you make one mistake and there are 3 positives. It's okay to make mistakes, but unless you go through that route, you will not succeed. Otherwise, you're stranded and you're at that small level.
You mentioned this word mistake. Entrepreneurs बहुत डरते हैं.
Fear of failure.
Fear of failure से. और कई बार क्या है, okay, you have a problem, you have a situation. आप उस पर सोच रहे हैं. You are giving a thought to it. You are, talking to different people, gathering your thoughts. But sometimes that deliberation they take months, years, and they don't give a decision out.
Correct.
And मेरे experience में हमने इस चीज़ को काफ़ी closely देखा और हमारा एक behavior होता था कि decision दे दो, गलत हो गया दूसरे दिन पता चल जाएगा.
ठीक है.
लेकिन रोक के मत रखो.
Yeah.
The life has to flow.
You're absolutely right. The biggest hindrance to innovation in an organization is that fear of failure. If a young guy comes in, MBA especially, coming from best schools of management, tell them to experiment, try some new product, experiment. They don't want to experiment because they don't want anything negative on their biodata in the first 2-3 years.
Wow.
And many organizations, there is internal fear. And many times gets compounded by certain organizations which punish those failures. You made a fun, you're very good, but you failed, so I will not give you increment. That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst. So people, then you're sending a signal within the organization.
Don't innovate. Just do your job.
Don't take experiment, don't take risk. Just be where you are. But you actually have to encourage, there is always some learning from those failures,
And do you come across, can you recall any story? Because, when you were in the market and suddenly I have seen in my journey, एक light bulb moment होता है. You have an interaction and suddenly, ये gap है market में. So when you were moving from B2B to B2C, and identifying opportunity, and then a light bulb moment कि इसमें मैं pricing और branding कैसे लेके जाऊँ कि ये मैं masters तक ले जाऊँ. तो बहुत deliberation उसमें चाहिए और लोग फंस जाते हैं एक market की तरफ lock होके रह जाते हैं. But what you have done, build a product which is available India 1 वाली market में, household में भी है और India 3 में भी पड़ा है.
It is used by, I don't know how many number of people, must be used by at least in India 20-30 crore people must be using our brand.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And outside India also.
And outside
big in Bangladesh. Everybody uses in Bangladesh.
मैंने तो कई बार एयरपोर्ट पे वो सिक्योरिटी पे चेक करते हुए देखा है, वो खोलते हैं, निकलती है अंदर से पैराशूट की बॉटल. हम बाहर जा रहे हैं, बच्चे भी साथ ले जा रहे हैं. So that's the
trust on the some movies. I just saw that Sam Bahadur 2 days back.
Yeah.
And in one of the things, the parachute bottle, that's my we didn't pay for it or anything, but it was there.
But that's the trust that वो होगा तो वो era दिखाई देगा और trust दिखाई देगा. So how do you build, I mean, some of those anecdotes, if you can recall, that gave a light bulb moment for identifying needs in the market and identifying journey and realizing कि अगर इसको brand नहीं बनाया तो premium नहीं बन पाएंगे.
No, but we had to create. So basically the first light bulb moment for me was the quality of the oil. Then we were supplying that same quality oil in bulk tankers to a party in Calcutta.
Okay.
And they were using that oil to pack it in their brand.
Okay.
So my uncle and would say, see this Shalimar brand, see what they're doing. They're taking our oil and packing it and they are doing much better.
The Shalimar oil? Okay.
So I said, if Shalimar can do it, why can't we do it? So that was another trigger, Wow. And then some small towns, the product doing well was the third trigger.
Right.
And then as I expanded, it went on getting more and more confidence, And there is a huge part of, at that time the brand was smaller because substantial part of coconut oil was sold loose.
Right.
I think 90-10, that 90% of coconut oil was sold loose, 10% only was packed. Now that has increased with urbanization and, more prosperity in the country.
Has it switched or?
It is, of course. Still there is loose, but it is now, I think, I don't have the exact number, but the majority is in packed.
Majority is in packed.
Yeah.
Right. And why that shift has happened?
Because better quality oil.
Better quality.
Because convenience. You don't have to take a dabba and get loose oil and all that.
Yeah.
And then, brand also has an emotional kind of attachment,
Right. Yeah. Right. And coconut oil ठीक है. But जब आप health और food की तरफ जा रहे हैं, जहाँ आप cooking oil की बात कर रहे हैं, तो वहाँ पे कैसे trust बनाया? Because एक category में you can become a king.
Yes.
And then how do you change your internal structures and views and deploy that in a different market?
So, Saffola are branded cooking oil, and now it's getting more and more healthy food brand. We are shifting focus from cooking oil to healthy foods.
Right.
That time, when I'm talking of early 70s, one of my uncles had identified that this curdy oil at that time, safflower oil, which is high in polyunsaturates, is advocated by doctors for heart health.
Okay.
In terms of reducing cholesterol. And I'm talking of 50 years back.
Yeah.
It was, the awareness was small, but we started doing doctor contacts.
Yeah.
And then we started advertising benefits of healthy heart. And not only that, we did a lot of surround activities to basically portray us as a thought leader in this space. So we would give a small booklet on heart care if you send a 25 paisa stamp, just to ensure that nobody free would come to us, and then we would send the booklet. So you have to send a 25 paisa stamp to this. We'll get a booklet, free. And then we do a lot of activities on World Heart Day, free cholesterol checkups, go on talking about the need to do heart health, cholesterol building initiatives, talk to cardiologists at cardiologist conference. So that's how we positioned ourselves on health's ground, Initially heart, and then we expanded from heart to anything connected to the heart, which is overweight, diabetes. And so the brand is shifted, but I think it's positioned as good for heart, because unless you're differentiated in the marketplace, you may not be able to get the right price and the right margins.
Taking a call like that, moving towards healthy oil and, health space, especially around heart.
Yeah.
I have seen in our journey, कुछ भी ऐसा major leverage आप करते हैं company में या नए product में, it either comes from कि भाई opportunity है, go after it, or you personally believe yourself, if I'm a freak for health, how can I not give this product out?
Yeah.
So was there
I've always been a health freak, to answer the question, Just maybe, I don't know whether it's a part of it. It's my personal kind of, I just finished I met a longevity expert.
Okay.
In Bombay. He's a doctor.
Okay.
And he says, I will evaluate each and every part of what you're doing.
Okay.
So he did all the blood studies, all the markers, starting with cardiovascular to cancer markers to diabetic to other whatever allergies, all the whole thing, And then he studied what kind of food, diet, my weight, blood pressure, everything, and then exercise schedule. and ultimately he predicts.
Okay.
Your
how long will you live? Or
not
what?
that. No. Your real age and your biological age.
Okay.
So he doesn't say about how long that he didn't tell me.
Okay.
So my real age is 72.
Okay.
My biological age came to 58 years.
That is fantastic.
So because I'm a health freak, I exercise 1.5 hours every day.
Okay.
I am vegetarian. I control my food. I high discipline. I manage my stress. I am a very healthy lifestyle, and I'm not always. I'm health freak.
And was it somewhere the reason that you wanted
Not
to pursue?
No,
It's a full story.
No, it came to me from one of my uncles who had said, but
you
now
believed in it.
Yeah, I believe in it.
Internally, you were geared like that.
Absolutely.
That it makes sense.
Yeah, but then we went to, several foods which are based on health, like oats and all that.
Yes.
Which is done exceedingly well.
Yes.
And you created a market that oats itself must be 400-500 crore brand. Sephora oats. Yeah.
That's amazing. So how was the journey moving from oils into lifestyle like segment? It's a very different market.
So we
and
were
not household.
So we thought that hair oiling is a big part of our business.
Right.
And hair oiling, there is always a fear that with modernity coming in, people will reduce their oiling or stop their hair oiling, especially in urban areas, rich areas. And one challenge to us was, how do I keep the hair oiling trend maintained? So for which we did a lot of campaigns in terms of shifting the habit from post-wash applying oil to pre-wash.
Okay.
So can you apply oil pre-wash shampoo, and then so that it has a benefit in terms of conditioning or all?
Yes. Yeah. I personally experienced that.
So we shifted that, and the market is still not yet degrowing.
Okay.
In the meantime, the international market for hair oil started getting fired because now people started realizing.
Right.
So, but at the same time, we said if people shift from hair oil to something else, how do we protect ourselves? So we said we have to be in hair serums.
Okay.
We have to be in hair creams. So what we call pre and post wash hair care products.
Understood.
So we said we want to be in the complete range of pre and post wash hair care products, but not wash.
Okay.
Because wash is very, very competitive.
Yeah.
We don't have a strong right to win against the big multinationals who have multiple brands. So we will not be a part of wash.
Yeah.
And whatever else is there, pre, post wash, hair serums, hair creams, hair gels, hair fall oils, whatever, we'll be there. So with that vision, we had our own brands, and then this acquisition opportunity came up of Set Wet and Live On. Right. So we acquired because we had that broad vision that we have to be leaders in this space.
And you saw this as a great space.
And that market is growing, it'll grow because people will shift. As modernity coming in, the youth will buy more of waxes, gels, whenever they have to go out in the evening and things like that.
And did you see the consumer feel and behavior change? That, they don't want to apply oil throughout the day.
It is,
there is a social,
absolutely,
coconut oil.
Absolutely.
Smell, you keep it for longer time and people are going to offices.
Especially in urban areas where our educated class, yes, there is definitely. In rural areas, it may not be not middle class, but youths, urban areas, definitely. That's why you want people to shift to pre-wash.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to this question where I get asked a lot of times, how do you price a product for a larger market and still make money?
Yeah.
And then, your marketing spend and your management spend on smaller market versus, metro is very different. Yeah. How do you still make money on that?
So I think we have some formula in terms of, because one challenge is for us to convert from loose to packed.
Loose to packed.
So we can charge a certain premium.
Yeah.
But if you go beyond a point, we'll not get that conversion. So our growth will not come in.
Correct.
The other is when you decide pricing, you also have to see what is the competitor doing.
Correct.
And ultimately, how much premium can we charge to the consumer compared to competition, Right. So a combination of all these factors would help us decide the pricing to ensure that we earn good margins. But the fact that we are selling more and more of our products in small packs, it gives us a higher opportunity to charge a premium in percentage. But in absolute price point, it is not much. Suppose if I am at 20 rupee price point and I charge a 10% premium, to a consumer it's just 2 rupees. It's not much. If I was selling for 200 rupees and 10%, 20 rupees, people would start. But for 1 or 2 rupees, they will not shift the brand.
They will not shift.
Yeah.
And you do progressively?
Meaning?
Meaning, when you did this change, you identify a sweet spot on your pricing.
Yeah.
But have you kept pace with the changes like every year, or there were blocks of change?
No. It goes. It's a continuous process. Yeah. Ultimately, you have to find the sweet spot in terms of conversion from loose to packed, in terms of ensuring that you're keeping up your market share, maybe increasing your market share. So the sweet spot has to be found. It's very crucial. On top of that, the raw material prices go on fluctuating.
Yeah.
So it's pricing is very, very important for us in terms of ensuring margins, ensuring growth, and ensuring that our market share is either maintained or increased.
So when you're growing like this and you're getting better, you're getting recognition, सब लोग जानते हैं, सब लोग appreciate कर रहे हैं, हर जगह नाम आ रहा है, and business grow कर रहा है, markets are happy. तो जब आप अच्छा करते हैं, तो आप तो अच्छा कर रहे हैं एक अच्छे मकसद से, but कई लोगों को खटकता है. तो हिंदुस्तान पर जैसे बड़े giants थे who did come to you कि they wanted to inspire you, and then you clearly denied that, and in fact you started pushing them back and securing the Marico brand and the company from such a giant. So how does that happen?
So I think it's a free business environment. I don't blame them. If I was them, I would also done the same thing. Because ultimately in the marketplace, you have to win. And you have to grow. And it's okay to grow. It's okay to acquire other companies. It's competition. As long as it is fair competition, it's fine. If they do something which is unfair in terms of doing something underhand, then I will not like it.
Did they ever do anything?
No, nothing like that. So it's basically, they spend more money on advertising, which is official.
Yeah, they have a right to do.
Yeah, so I respect it. But we were saying that, okay, we'll take them on.
So it never came to your mind or family कि नहीं चलो बहुत कर लिया.
No, they went on calling up from different sources. They sent bankers. The chairman at that time called me up directly saying that please sell out, otherwise, your history, if you sell out, all your future generations are taken care of financially. But I am not into money per se. To me, money doesn't matter. That pride of building a brand, Indian brand, is more than selling it to MNC or something. So I was absolutely sure, but I deliberated a lot to what extent are we vulnerable. But I came to the conclusion after discussing with my own team. I went to, at that time, Nirma had given a big fight to
this surf and
wheel and all. Yeah,
wheel and all.
So and then I met the owner of Nirma in Ahmedabad just for this. Please tell me what do you feel in this situation, just to get that card. He gave me that card. So it's really, I just didn't do it from the ego point of view. I went detailed and I said, how do we take them on?
So it was a calculated,
calculated and
deliberated call.
Helped us in terms of going rural, in terms of distribution. Helped us in coming with an ad campaign which was very emotional in terms of connecting with the consumer. Helped the morale of the organization, because ultimately we acquired the brands we were fighting from, and that has been one of my best acquisitions.
Right.
So many
it
times
turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah, looking back, it was a fantastic thing to happen.
Yeah.
But we went through that stressful period, which is okay, part and parcel of life.
Yeah, but and the fear that we might just lose everything that we have built.
Yeah, but no, ultimately for us it was everything. For them it was one amongst 30 brands there.
Yes.
For me, I was handling it, me and my team at the top. For them, it was like 3 levels lower than the chairman.
Right.
So all these things we calculated while deciding.
Like they may not have that much emphasis as we have.
Correct. We have to protect. This is our resource generating engine. We have to come what may, we have to protect this.
And did it also lead to international expansion that, while we are
this particular instance, separately, we wanted to go international, that's a different reason.
Okay.
But not because of this.
And that also becomes a big challenge. A lot of companies in India understand Indian culture, the way it all works, and, they have things in their control, resources, talent, how to get work out. But when you go to another market, within India or internationally especially, तो वहाँ पे किस तरह के challenges you face?
It's very different.
I
think most entrepreneurs they think they want to go abroad.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, if you have enough opportunity to grow in India, first stab that opportunity and don't think Indian market, international market is same. It's very different. You have to man your international business, the exclusive team, which only looks at international business, because the regulations are different, the customer is different, the
language
culture is different, language is different, geopolitics is different. We invested in Egypt, we acquired 2 brands, and all of a sudden the Egyptian revolution came in and we were completely floored.
Right.
Then foreign exchange, it's the exchange, because ultimately if you make
your raw material pricing, everything.
So it's very different, but you need to go through a learning curve. And I think we've gone through the learning curve. And the talent, then, you have to, if you are big, then it's expected that you recruit local talent. And the quality of talent may not be good. So we've gone, but we've cracked it now. We are present in not all the international markets, but major presence.
Key 6-7 markets you're there.
Key, like Bangladesh, big, Vietnam, Middle East, Egypt, and South Africa. And then other markets.
Have you ever aspired to be in the Western markets?
By design in the initial phases, no. Because, we said that we have to be in markets where the distribution we understand the distribution. In European markets, in US markets, developed markets, the distribution very, very different because of the emergence of the modern trade. So by design, we didn't go because you would have not known how to handle that distribution. So that's why I went to markets which were developing markets in Asia and Africa.
Okay. And, we spoke about mistakes and anything that comes to your mind that these are the biggest blunders that happen due to market forces or team or situation. And how did you recover from
many? I can give you many.
Like what comes
examples.
right up there in the list?
So, the initial stage, the right up the list was, when you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to save money, and their mindset still was there in terms of costs. So we didn't have we should have had a separate new product development department, separate quality assurance department, separate legal department, and we took some shortcuts there. And that put us into problem with some quality or some legal issue or new product development issue.
Correct.
And went through that and realized that why are we taking this we have to invest in that. So that was my first phase of issues.
Okay.
The second phase of issues was when we said that we have to go beyond these markets. So I saw an opportunity in US in Ayurvedic based skincare brand, but only supplying to spas. It's a different business model completely. It's going back to B2B. And we went through a learning curve, and so we decided to get out of it, because it's a B2B business is very different than B2C business.
Right.
And then one more mistake, but out of that mistake in acquiring B2B, again, we said, let's go to some other markets where we can make acquisitions. So we identified markets where we can make acquisition, briefed the bankers there, and that's how 2 acquisitions happened in Egypt, 1 and 2 in South Africa, 2 in Vietnam. And if we had not gone through that US experience, we would not have gone to these markets. But we said we have to be in FMCG, and the route to grow, because we don't see opportunity through organic route, is through inorganic route. And we created a separate team and we expanded internationally. So there has always been a silver lining to any failure.
Absolutely.
And the last one I want to point out is about Saffola snacks, baked snacks. About 10, 12 years back, we said there was no baked snacks at that time.
Right.
And being a health freak guy, I said that, okay, now let's go to baked snack. We had a product.
Right.
Now, under Saffola brand name, we have health and we have taste in snacks.
Correct.
So the team prioritized health over taste. In a snacks category, which is very impulsive, you want to have a snack with your tea or drink in the evening, you need taste first. Health is not as important as taste. We faltered on that front. We had to withdraw the brand.
Oh, you had to withdraw.
Yeah, and we lost an opportunity. But then when it came to oats, we saw an opportunity. We were in plain oats, stagnating, and then we, against Kellogg's and Quaker and all that, we said, can we do, our consumer insighting pointed us to a direction where Indians like savory breakfast and not sweet breakfast. So can we do savory oats, just like what Maggi has done to noodles? So we profile the taste of each and every state, because each state has a different taste. Somebody wants sweet, somebody wants more spicy, and we developed our savory oats depending on the region where you're launching, including flavors and all which you're launching. And that's been a huge success. We have 80% market share.
Yeah.
But we went overboard on tastes. So we have to
Overboard on
crack
taste.
taste. We have to crack taste first.
Yeah.
So I think that setback really helped us go completely overboard. Meaning we went crazy after. We have to crack the taste. And each state has a different taste profile.
I was about to say that India में taste crack करना और ज़्यादा difficult है.
Yeah,
because
because of-
north versus south,
Correct,
east versus west,
Yeah.
very different.
So we have
taste.
cracked it.
And then you were able to crack it.
Now it's a successful brand.
So, we've spoken about blunders and, people say that your mistakes and your failures bring out the mistakes that you've done. But success sort of hides the mistakes, which in your heart,
Yeah.
we are successful, सब ठीक जा रहा है. लेकिन मुझे पता है कि इसमें कमी है. So is there anything that is happening around the success part?
I think you have to be open. You have to be open to critique. In an organization which is very closed, where you want yes men, then you may not be able to find out what's going wrong.
Right.
But I want constructive no men. Those who have the courage to say, no, I would actually encourage people to say this is wrong. Not to say that every time they are right. But if you're reflective, if you're open to suggestions, if you are continuously finding out how to go on improving, then you'll not fall into that trap. And then on top of that, you encourage risk-taking, experimentation. So you can never be saying that I know it all. No person in this world can say I know it all. There are always ways to improve on a perpetual basis.
Correct.
Because the business environment is changing. 5 years back, there was no digital marketing, there was no e-commerce, less presence of modern trade. All of a sudden, it's changed.
Yeah.
So you have to change with the environment.
And, you spoke about, having people who could take constructive criticism and then a constructive no.
Yeah.
So how do you find such talent? And most people sort of falter in bringing people, and they actually, I've seen, they continue to drag कि गलत ले आए लेकिन पेडिग्री से ले आए लेकिन वो ठीक नहीं कर रहा, चलता रहे, ये चला गया तो क्या होगा? So how do you find people? I
think it's a challenge to get the right people, but I think there are ways to resolve it.
Okay.
First of all, I have spent personally a lot of time in building the culture of the organization, where the culture is very strong, it's very participative, it's very democratic. An autocrat within our company will not be able to survive. We go on measuring that culture on a regular basis. It's very open, it's very experimentative, it's innovative. So when we recruit a person in the interviewing process, references around those areas, that, okay, what is your leadership? I'm talking about senior levels.
Right.
What is your leadership style? How open are you to change it? Things like that, And it's a part of one's chosen, it's a part of induction. And there is a certain critical mass which we have built over a period of time. And tomorrow,
talent.
Yeah. So tomorrow, if you come with a different authoritarian leadership style, it'll just stand out. People will, at the bottom, middle level, they will just oppose, So either you change or you leave.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of internal pressure, but that's happened because years and years of work of talking about the need for having the culture, values and all that. So it's instilled on a perpetual basis.
And does any story or anecdote comes to your mind that you hired with complete conviction and it turned absolutely opposite?
Many times. And hiring has its own risks.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at some stage, you have to take a risk. Interview is one check. Reference is another check.
Yeah.
You can do other tests.
Right.
But in spite of that, every person can make mistakes. So we made mistakes. And ultimately, if you realize that person is not going to be your bet, you will invest in that person if you think that person is able to change. But if you come to the conclusion that person is not the right fit, it's better to ask that person to go and admit that it was you are equally at fault and not he or she is at fault. And you treat that person in a human manner. Ask them to go find some other job, help them find the job, ensure that financially you give them enough time, 3 months, 6 months to do something. But it's always worked out well. It's always worked out. And many times, some of the good guys who were relevant when you were small, they stop becoming irrelevant when you become medium or large because they are not able to manage the complexity of the job. Again, the same thing. You have to take the organization's interest comes first. Anytime, I always, whether it's promoter or whether it's employee, the organization's interest is first. Loyalty in a highly competitive environment, loyalty, it's okay to have loyalty at very low levels. You are not going to get, but at senior, middle levels, you can't say loyalty first. Performance comes first.
Loyalty to the team or the manager.
Yeah.
Has to be company first.
Company first. If company's interest, and including me, I stepped down as managing director. I was not ready to step down because it was good for the organization. So I had to take that.
How was that?
I mean, it was difficult to adjust. And there are two things I did. One was I stepped down when I was not ready to step down. Number two, in an Indian company, it's expected that your son or daughter would succeed you. Yeah. So in my case, I just took a professional to succeed me. So I had to, socially also, within my family also, I had to manage this. And it went through some stress, but it's worked out well. Because I took that stance of whatever is good for the organization.
So why did you feel that a profession would be better than someone who's been born and seen this every day?
So no, I think two reasons. One is the professional was with me for some time.
Okay. Oh, you knew the person.
He was just escalated. I mean, otherwise he would have left. So I discussed with my board and said, okay, we have to retain. Number two, my son was relatively younger at that time, So I think combination of all these things. I could have said no to that professional, continued for 3 years, 5 years, and put my son in it. That was an option.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I would not, I couldn't have afforded to lose him. Because he was heading marketing and sales, which is the most critical part of FMCG business,
Would the company been different today had he left?
Difficult to predict, but in some ways could have been different.
And I think this is a point where I've also seen in our journey that, we have stuck on to a talent, great talent, sometimes at a gunpoint.
Yes.
We've sort of acceded to their demands, request, or, whatever you want to call it. And then we have gone ahead with that talent. And later we realized it made us weaker.
Oh, really? Okay.
And, we could have taken that action and would have found out or maybe continued ourselves doing this job.
I think it depends on the context, I would say.
Okay.
In this case, it was not a gunpoint. I mean, it was just a conversation saying that I aspire to be a CEO. And normally in a family-managed company, it's reserved for the family. I just want to know. Otherwise, we had a very good equation. We still have. So, okay, if you think that is going to be outside it's out of bounds for me, then I will look out for, but then I will leave within a year or two.
Right.
So it was that conversation which led to this trigger, and there was no pressure or thing that, okay, you make me this, otherwise something like that,
And does that person still continue?
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay. And I think you were talking about, talent. I'm harping again because when people are growing their companies, till a point you know what's happening on the ground. After a point you start to, disconnect or become difficult to know ki niche kya ho raha hai. So in such a large organization,
how do you get that? How do you get the pulse?
Pulse of the ground.
Yeah, so I think one is everybody does skip level meetings. So I interact with those who are reporting to my managing director. So this is one-on-one meeting with me in a highly confidential, if they want to say something.
Right.
So skip level is another. Participating in organizational events. It could be a ceremonial role, but you can sense out, what in the mood. Then you do surveys also in terms of engagement scores for different functions, survey on values. So that also HR does it, and that results come in. So, and then we have review meetings with one level lower also.
Okay.
You will get, if something is wrong, you will be able to sense it if you have good nose for.
And how will you do on the consumer side? What are they feeling?
I mean, that ultimately gets reflected in your business.
Right.
How your brand is doing, how your competition is doing. Are you missing out on some opportunity? So consumer is, again, consumer insighting. It's the most important thing is insighting. You can't rely on market research. You have to do consumer insighting one-on-one. If I have to find out some new product, I have to talk to you in detail. I have to go into your later needs where you yourself may not know that this is my need.
Right.
I should be able to identify that.
And tell you that.
And then ultimately launch, if there is
product,
create a product to satisfy that need.
And in your journey, you have been very, very strong in identifying trends and patterns. How do you do that? Like, this is where the market is growing. And now, especially with youth and D2C, there's so many products out there. How does one keep pace?
I think you have to get a lot of outside in. So what is happening, and many of the trends, believe me, it's a matter of time they come from developed markets to Indian markets.
Straight away.
Over a period of time. Not necessarily all, but you've seen trends of organic, you've seen trends of vegan, you've seen trends of natural, you've seen health trend, immunity trends. It got accelerated during COVID times.
Yeah.
But before COVID, I had gone, and so once in a while you have to go and see what's happening in those markets, visit those markets, read a lot, interact with thought leaders, and see what is the trend. Then now you get a lot of reports also in terms of what are the trends emerging. So you then have to see, and sometimes you have to take a bet on some trends. Sometimes it may not work, but again, you should not be afraid of failures.
Absolutely. But what do you see in terms of difference? The consumers that you were dealing with earlier, or aaj ke jo consumers hai, millennials?
Oh, it's quite different. Earlier it was family brands. Like people would buy, the housewife and the family would buy the brand. Everybody would use it. Now it's individuals.
So now everybody has their own.
Depending on the household income. But increasingly, if you're middle class, upper middle class, everybody has their own brand, whether it's toothpaste or whatever product,
Yeah.
And then the whole emergence of D2C space now, where people are buying more through e-commerce, so online brands is a big change. The overall information needs of the consumer have increased dramatically.
Okay.
So what does this product contain? Is it safe for me? Not safe for me? And now, much more than that, now the consumer is saying, does the brand have a purpose? Is it causing harm environmentally? So all those things are playing a very, very important role.
Is it making you change the product?
You have to, of course, the consumers will make expectations, will make. So now we realize that consumer is asking for a purpose in a brand. So we have a purpose, strong purpose in Saffola we always had in terms of health.
Yeah.
In Parachute, we have put a purpose of what we call Kalpavriksha. So which is our initiative to help farmers improve their yields. Right. So currently we are working with 80,000 farmers in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And we've seen, by just giving advice in terms of cropping practices and fertilizers and pesticides, we've seen yields increase by 15%. That itself means for them, the farmers, more than 100 crore income every year.
Right.
So that is our purpose getting associated, that Parachute is helping farmers in terms of improving their coconut yields. And for Shanti Amla, where we support a girl child for education. Right. So I think it's some purpose.
So people are now resonating more with purpose. Purpose is always there.
It is the brands have to have a purpose.
Brands have to have.
And initially the brands have to satisfy that whatever the product and all that, but I think need is expanded to purpose.
You use this word purpose and winning in very different contexts, but I have always seen that you start a business with a purpose, or you win in a market and then you discover your purpose, or you fall in line with the trend. So between winning and purpose, where do you see as,
It is both. You can't say winning and it's not either or.
It has to be
both. Actually, research has shown.
Yeah.
And this is because we have an organizational purpose, and we spend a lot of energy in terms of driving that organizational purpose is to make a difference to all the stakeholders. Yeah. So I have to make a difference to my consumer, to my employees, to associates, to shareholders. What can I do different compared to what others are doing? And that's a part and parcel of, and research was done many years back, about 15 years back. And it was captured in the book Firms of Endearment, which is, I know the authors, Jagdish Sheth and Raj Sisodia. They have proven that purposeful companies beat good to great companies. That time they measured by a huge margin on S&P index. So purpose plays a very important role.
I mean, you are a inspiration for a lot of people. People come to you for mentoring. Who has been your inspiration? or a mentor that you have looked up?
So depending on what stage of my own journey I was in, initially it was more some professional help in terms of functional areas. And then over a period of time, it was more organizational help. And then go beyond that in terms of what is the role of a leader in terms of influences and all that.
Right.
So it has gone on changing, but one person I have learned a lot and was co-authored with my book, Harsh Realities, which came out 2 years back, is Professor Ramcharan, who was a management guru, is a coach also. So
correct.
I have known him for the last 20 years, and whenever he happens to visit here, I spend some time with him.
And what were the light bulb moments with his interaction which completely changed your thought process?
So
since you didn't go for a management education.
Yeah, so enough and more things, but I can give one example because, the lever threat when it came in, and I think he said that, and he's the one who identified that this is your resource generating engine, parachute. You have to protect your research generating engine over anything else. So ensure that if it means spending more on advertising, spend it. And if you have to put in distribution, do it, So that piece of advice really helped us in terms of taking levers on. And we succeeded. Ultimately, we bought their brand from.
Yeah, you bought some of their...
Same brand we were competing with. Yeah.
So, when you're in the journey, there are a lot of insecurities that come. Did you come across with any such insecurity?
So I think every person goes through insecurity and anxieties, But you have to learn to manage it. First of all, any anxiety which is to do with the wrong side of law, I don't want to do it. So if I do everything right, I think many of the anxieties many entrepreneurs face are because they have taken some shortcut or they have not followed law. Thank God for that. I have not, because from day one I have said I have to do everything as per the law. Very high level of governance. So I don't have those unnecessary tensions because of that.
Great.
Only tensions I will have is about my business. So luckily the businesses, the brands we built are all leadership brands. Whatever we're doing, we're leader in that particular segment. So we don't have that kind of tensions, you may call it, or insecurities. And then you have to say, okay, you give your best. We had those kind of moments when the lever threat was there or something which is not succeeded, but nothing which is, I've not had sleep problems or anything like that.
But today you see, these young guys are too much in hurry. Is hurry to a point good or...
No, I think agility is very important.
Agility is important,
but don't do something which is through a shortcut, You have to do things in the right manner. If you start taking shortcuts in a hurry, that's not good. You will hit you back,
And when you talk about agility and, they should not get into hurry. And I also see people losing their, founder equity or ownership too soon, too fast. And as a result, you become a minority shareholder. Does, getting down to a minority position impact the way you run?
I think ultimately I will wear the hat. What is good for the organization comes first. So if it means that you have to grow, you have to reduce your shareholding to grow, it's okay.
It's okay.
Because ultimately if you don't do it, then somebody else will encash on that opportunity.
Correct.
So I am not a kind of person who will raise money and put that money in some bank or some other business, The money has to be kept in that business itself.
Right.
So don't reduce for the sake of your lifestyle, I'm saying.
Not for the lifestyle. But just to ensure that, the business is running, you're not getting the pricing or the valuation, let's get the money, we'll just kick the can forward and we'll see it later. Or should they not get into the pressure and the valuation game is becoming a big thing.
Yeah, but a lot depends on the individual. I am not in the valuation game, nor am I able to understand all the businesses where they are getting scale but losing more and more money. It's something which I'm not able to digest.
And in this whole process, you've generated a lot of wealth. What are your thoughts on passing on wealth, succession of, the family baton? Have you thought about that?
So it's changed our role as promoters. Earlier, we were actively promoter-driven company. Now we are more strategic investors.
Mm-hmm.
So I play a role at the board level. I interact with the management team on regularly, but I'm hands off. My mind is on.
Okay.
24/7, I go on thinking we'll do this, but hands off. I don't, on a day-to-day basis, nothing comes to me for decision. I'm exactly aware of what's happening within the organization. I have a good pulse. If I have some thoughts, I share with that team, but hands off. And my son is also on board now. So we will now, it looks like it will be a professionally managed organization.
Okay.
But we will drive that through our own inputs from an entrepreneurial side.
And do you see this AI and social, bandwagon will change the way
I think
business
things are changing. Of course, they are changing and they're likely to change. The whole technology piece is the biggest disruptor. I mean, we've seen COVID as a disruptor. We've seen all the wars which have happened disruptor, but this is the biggest disruptor.
So is it easier to make brands now versus earlier, or is it tougher?
Difficult to answer, but in a way the competitive threat was much lesser. But now, at that time, you required big money to create brands, big money to create distribution.
Right.
Now you may not have money, but D2C offers you with digital marketing, without having distribution network, to launch new products. So some of the entry barriers which existed in FMCG have gone down. And that's why we've seen so many D2C brands launching and succeeding.
And, how does the youth tomorrow, take this message from you that, what has been your turning point, life-changing events, and then, how can they, imbibe some of those lessons, which you haven't shared in any platform as of now. It could be family, because I think, as an entrepreneur, you spend a lot of time outside family.
Yeah. So I think as far as family is concerned, you have to look at family from a strength point of view, and also if there are differences of opinion, drive consensus and arrive at a journey which is consensus based. Because the moment there are fights in the family, we've seen business getting destroyed. In my own personal journey, I think I've discussed a little bit earlier, remove the fear of failure, go on experimenting. I think every person has got strengths, and every person has areas to improve upon. Leverage your strengths and build your business, your career based on your strengths rather than somebody else. You are good in IT, so I should go into IT. No.
Yeah.
Whatever is my strength. And luckily, I went into a business based on my strengths of not good in B2B, not able to get a license, working with the consumer, working in distributors. So leverage your strengths. And many times, if you don't know strengths, please discuss with your friends, relatives, whoever it is, who can tell you this is your strength,
And while you're building business, and all these people are building business, a lot of them keep their, giving back to society towards the end of their journey of, profession.
Yeah. So I think before that, I would say that grit is very important. Every person has failures in life. Every person in this world will have failures and setbacks.
Yeah.
But if they say passion is important, but passion has to be combined with perseverance and determination, because you will have setbacks. Many people will just give up. If you have determination, perseverance, you will learn from that. You go on trying to improve. So grit, the word is grit, which is very crucial. Now, coming to your question in terms of giving back, I think it's very important. At some stage in life, one realizes that I've achieved this, I've got wealth, I've got recognition, I got whatever, satisfaction of building a business, and what else? So that's where they say that at some stage in life, you have to start reinventing yourself or recalibrating what you're doing in life, and that's the time you realize that you have to do something.
So did you experience that moment that I've had enough and I need to give back? And
so we do a lot of. I think the move toward, they said, first 25 years is for learning, next 25 years for earning, and next 25 years are for giving. And this was said many years back. So with time frame, everything has changed, but. So I think that giving comes in it. It has to come from within.
Yeah.
So I do in passionate areas. I don't believe in donations in building hospitals or schools. I want to be a catalyst in whatever I'm doing. So I should be able to, with certain resource, I should be able to have a multiplier effect, because I'm giving my personal time and my passion. So my two passions in giving from my personal side are mental health and entrepreneurship. So I'm working with 1,000 entrepreneurs today.
1,000 entrepreneurs?
In Ascent, which is a way to for any entrepreneur to join. And if any of your listeners are wanting to join, you just go to the website www.ascentfoundation.in.
Okay.
And it's funded by me.
It's funded by you.
Yeah, but only thing
what help do they get?
So they get, first of all, they have to have a certain turnover. So if you're manufacturing 5 crore turnover, if your service is 1 crore turnover, you have to apply. And then once you apply, you are a part of a trust group where you discuss with similar kind of entrepreneurs your issues in a highly trusted environment.
So you cluster them
trained, trained. So we have like almost 100 trust groups today.
When do they get to speak
They
to you?
They don't come to me. They're on their own. I don't know what they're
you just created that platform.
I'm doing a peer learning platform where they learn from each other. It's a great way to interact with other entrepreneurs and learn from each other. And the other is mental health, which is helping. We identified this trend 8-10 years back. So we are the largest grant-making organization in mental health in India, where we support 46 organizations every year in terms of giving grants, and more than that, helping them scale up, learning from them. We do also research report on, just came out with a research on climate change and mental health. We've done last year suicide, and suicide is big
Very
now.
big cause.
So what is causing suicide? What is needed in terms of changes at the society level?
And this mental problem being also closely associated with the stigma. Log nahi discuss.
Correct, absolutely right. That has to change.
Sometimes they don't even know that they are suffering.
Yeah, and many times I've known parents, they've lost their kid because they were not aware that the kid was going through this.
Yeah. So I think this philanthropy, being very important.
Yes.
And then our call has always been that the sooner you realize, the better it is, because there is a compounding effect of, you pursuing a cause, and by the time you are 30, 40 years into it, you've made a larger impact.
Yeah.
But I think in the journey, a lot of people, they look out for admiration, validation of others. That gets them onto the wrong side of philanthropy.
Yeah.
So have you experienced similar feelings?
It has got course correction. First of all, my approach was to identify a cause.
Okay.
I get charged by doing something pioneering. So my key thought was, can I pioneer that?
Yeah.
Can I be a thought leader? To me, these are 2-3 things where, whatever reason, I just want to. And number 3, I should be passionate about it, where I should be able to add value and not just donate money. I should be active giving. I spend about 20-25% of my time on philanthropy issues, not just money. So then started with the entrepreneurship, have made course correction, still making course correction. But behind that, the journey is in the right direction. Some mistakes you make, something is not working, or to course correct.
Correct. So, leaving you with the last thought and, understanding how you look at it. A lot of people say that, life is a race and you have to win. Some people say that, it's a stage, you come, you do your role and get out. So, where are you on that?
I don't think it's a race. It's you have to do something which is valued to others. You have to make a difference to others in whatever you do. It may be a very small thing. The way I treat you also. If I treat you well and you had a good experience, you'll always remember that.
So when you said treat you, being a product company, it's very hard to understand the service part of it.
It need not be. It's like consumers. I have to do it at a mass level.
Yeah.
I have to do it at a mass level by telling them the benefits of using my products and things like that. So influence them. But on one-on-one basis, I can create the right culture, provide the right environment for all my people who are working for me. They should enjoy working for me.
Yes.
So that's my way of making a difference to them.
No, I mean, this has been a fantastic conversation, sir. I think the users, the listeners will get some really gold nuggets from your so many decades of experience. And I think also for people who are in a stage where, they're deciding around how to bring in professional, how to manage the family. And these are some of the things that'll be very, very valuable. But, to your, towards the end, I just want, any specific message if you have for our viewers in leading their personal life. Of course, business, we've spoken a lot. How do they manage their family? How do they manage their children, their grandchildren? What is important in life after so long a journey? What conclusion have you come to?
No, I think one larger conclusion is to make a difference. That's your purpose in life, to make a difference to others. But having said that, depending on at what stage you are, you will have to go on changing your style. I can't say from day one that you can only work for a limited number of hours in the business. You may have to do that. But many times people complain that I don't have time. To me, lack of time is an effect. Something is wrong. On a perpetual basis, you can't say I don't have any time.
Yeah.
Short term, yes, I understand that, yeah. But I think you have to look at all the stakeholders, whether it's your family, your partners, your employees, and you have to give your best to ensure that you are able to add value and, you are a good human being,
At the end
to the society. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and we saw in COVID, everything was shut.
Yeah.
Society was shut. There was no business.
Yeah.
Business and society are so closely linked.
Correct.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks.